Howdy old people, right there, it's Rauta, it's Jerry, and of course back from Beyond the Gates 2024. And what could be proper representation of this video than wearing a band from Bergen, because that's where Beyond the Gates is taking place. After so many years, the whole festival seems to be evolving, if even step by step, and this year was very interesting. With interesting bands, of course, a lot of interesting people, and of course Bergen is always a really nice city to visit. Now, since this was my second time at Beyond the Gates, I do have some notes which I learned from the last year. Not big ones, but some pointers. And then, of course, I will go quickly through how the lineup was according to my opinion. Now, before you even ask, surely I didn't see all the bands. That's kind of like only for fanatics, borderline autistic people who are always going to see everything that is out there. And sometimes it's because, well, you need to rest when you're an older person here. And sometimes it's just interviews overlapping things. So, there it is. Let's start going through what Beyond the Gates 2024 was all about. Taking place the last day of July 24 and early days of August. So, this is how the main side looks, and we're of course going for the lineup because that's what there was all to talk about. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days of madness, and we had a tourist day, which was totally the biggest improvement for me and my camera people out there compared to last year. Because with 4 days, you're exhausted with all the bands, all the events, all the beers. And that's not really a good day for a little bit of tourism, which in my opinion is a very important part when you visit cities, beautiful cities like Bergen. There are those 7 mountains, and I think you should visit at least some of them. This year we just probably visited one mountain, Flygen, which we previously visited last year with Ulriken and one other which I can't remember by name. But my point here is, take time for tourism. Get 1 day extra if you can, if that's somehow possible, either before the actual festival begins or after. I would say after. Why? Because you need to recover, and nobody likes early flights when you've just gone through 4 days of festival madness. But this is my part on the tourism. We're not gonna go deeper into that. We're gonna talk about how the days were, what there is to consider about the venues and stuff like that, even accommodation and all that stuff. So, in case you didn't watch my last year episode, and it doesn't matter if you did, but just you might have a little bit of recap here and repetition with that. So, Beyond the Gates takes place in many venues, so it seems very scattered versus your typical metal festival, which is just one place, whatever these days are, 2, 3, 4 days, 6 days, doesn't even matter. Some festivals are just like one place, one certain area. We just go for different stages and see the gigs. Now, Bergen and Beyond the Gates is a little bit different in terms of that, because you have this Josef Werftet. I don't know if it's properly pronounced, but let's call it just Josef Werftet. And it's an old, what I read actually online, it's an old sardine factory. So it's kind of like a big ass hall building, composed of a couple of halls at least. And, well, more than 2. And 2 first days, the bands take place in those stages, the main stage and the smaller stage. And then there's beer garden, tattoo convention area, merchandise area, and of course the official restaurant with more beers and some food and all that stuff. The last 2 days, however, are the legendary Grieghallen, which is the famous place for so many black metal recordings and even beyond. Thinking like bands like Eternus in Bergen scene. So a lot of bands went there to do their early albums, which you probably know, which is why it's already feeling legendary. But beyond legendary, what is more important in terms of festival is, of course, how fucking good the music sounds when you go Grieghallen. Especially with the bigger bands, which are more dependent of, big sound, majestic, powerful sound, and you can really hear the nuances and all that stuff. So, 2 days at Werftet, 2 days at Grieghallen. Okay? Then it gets more complicated because there's actually what we call day shift and night shift. So this is Kulturhuset, Culture House in Bergen. So day shift bands and sometimes also night shift bands. Very simple. Just 3 different locations, right? Well, not quite, because there is also something that you would call, stereo, which is not here as a necessary venue, but the kind of a place where some gigs might take place, some listening sessions might take place, and it's one of those after-party bars. Then again, I also heard that it's not really happening anymore after this one, which puts us until only 1 metal bar after 3 bars which we had last year, like Helion, now closed, but coming back, Stereo, closing, and who knows if it's coming back as a metal bar, and Kroken, where we spent like, I don't know, 4 or even 5 evenings during the whole trip here. My point here is, things are a little bit scattered, and it might feel, at first especially, a little bit like, oh, how I'm gonna, solve the puzzle when gonna go really mad, like, wow, super hyped and all to the bands. And then you're gonna go a little bit drinking, and then you're like, oh man, I'm gonna get lost in the Bergen. Now, get this straight. Bergen is quite small city, especially when you're talking about the central area. So even if it seems like they're scattered, like Werftet here, Kulturhuset here, Grieghallen there, well, it's really like almost like a one street with a little bit of difference, and maybe 15-20 minutes depending how lazy you are from one end to the another, and Kulturhuset being in the central of that. So all in all, it's quite simple, but sometimes you have to be quite early, especially in places like Kulturhuset, in order to get into a proper place, because everybody is just moving from one place to another, especially with these night shift gigs, so like from Grieghallen to Kulturhuset and all that stuff. I know it sounds kind of confusing, but really if you take a look at the Bergen map and you figure it out once you're there, it's all very simple. But this is the basic information. Let's now go through why Beyond the Gates 2024 was so important, why it was a great experience for me and my camera people, besides the Bergen itself, nice city with the mountains and all. So, first day, we have quite an interesting lineup on the main stage. We have a band, well, this is technically speaking 2 stages, but it's just listed here as one main stage because it's Hollen and Rökriet. So, 2 places essentially, like the main hall, smaller stage, big hall, etc. Hordom Rife started. In my opinion, one of the best Norwegian black metal acts these days. The kind of a new wave of black metal made by old school black metal guys. Effective, very demonic stage version, very powerful. Manbrune and Skip, socializing. Vatine, very big, very majestic, and pretty much the same kind of experience I witnessed with them Inferno 2023. So, big burning Vatine, tridents, aggressive live presence, maybe a little bit too much smoke on the stage because kind of guys were got like buried or surrounded by the smoke and all. But yeah, essentially powerful show which only suffered from some sound problems. Then again, that's kind of typical for Holland because, well, let's be honest about it. The sound is not exactly with Grieghallen, but that's what you get when you have a big industry hall and all that stuff. Same kind of a problem was with Mayhem when they performed, and Atla was really restless wandering about the stage. In my opinion, one of the worst Mayhem experiences for me. Surely it kind of looked big and all because it was supposed to be this Mayhem 40 special show, but I've seen Mayhem many times on at least 3 different decades, probably 4, and really I felt like now it's like just a little bit too much without actually having really good sound and, set list and all. Too modern Mayhem for my liking, but there were lots of people, so who knows. Threlldom was, for me, one of the most anticipated acts and as such, one of the bigger disappointments. Don't get me wrong. The thing here is, what I expected from Threlldom was to be this, say, mid-tempo black metal from the 90s, the early albums. And even the later albums from 2007, if I remember correctly. I was expecting black metal show. But how they started was Gal with no corpse paint. No, not big deal to me anyway. But it was more like an alternative noise rock at this point. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Well, maybe it's just what you expect from new Threlldom album coming fall 2024. Some people were like, wow, it's really good and all that stuff. But, how expectations are met. If they're not to be expected, you're going to be disappointed. That was for me. When I was leaving, I noticed they were going for older material, but I decided not to go back. Let's just say I'm gonna give Threldom another shot at Helsinki Metal Fest, and let's hope it's better. But to be honest, I was just expecting different. One word of advice if you're starting band. Go with the stuff you're known for. Include some newer material later on. Don't do all the way new material and then let people expect it. Old bands, Slayer, Iron Maiden, Metallica and all, they do know this. I don't know how come Trolldom did it. So, it wasn't bad, but wasn't totally different what I expected and such big disappointment. Then the first day shift was taking place at Kulturhuset on Thursday. We skipped that entirely. First of all, not really maybe our kind of bands that much, and like I said, interviews take place. So we did our work and headed for the main stage, that is the second day of Josef Werftet. That was started by Cult of Fire, this really cult band from the eastern part of Europe, which I've seen already before, but then it kind of looks goofy even though I like the music. Now the music is pretty curious because it's kind of a traditional black metal met with some really uplifting parts. Sometimes it's almost like listening to black metal with really happy moments. That's kind of a weird mix, but I am not gonna deny I like it. And this time it was very different in terms of live. They had like these big ass cobra statues, right? More than bigger than man-sized, and fancy costumes, really weird looking costumes. Kind of a ritualistic feeling to that, and it was nice, even though it felt, especially when I took a look at my picture later on, it was all blue on stage, just one color or two. Anyway, the music sounded good and the performers were interesting. Definitely give it a go. Portrait I skipped, not really my thing, and Venom I kind of only took a brief look because I already saw it better a couple of years ago in Oslo. And well, Venom is Venom. If you've seen Venom, you either know it that you're gonna like big time because black metal and in League with Satan and all that stuff, or you're just gonna skip it because you know it's just Venom. Tried to get them for an interview, too bad it didn't happen. But you know, like I said, Venom is Venom. There's nothing really to tell about. Old black metal pioneers doing their old school pioneer black metal. Sure. Dark Space was one of those bigger anticipations for me because, you know, they're hypnotic, very space-like black metal with the kind of ambience is interesting on albums anyway. Now live they were pretty good, but because there's no drummer and it's not exactly the most dynamic band out there, it was giving me the feeling of like being a lesser version of Mystic. Very industrialistic kind of approach to the black metal with the ambience and all, but kind of also a little bit monotone over the whole course of the gig. And as such, can't really bitch about it, but maybe the full gig is not really for me. Give it a go, like a half a gig, enjoy what you have, and if you still have the energy and liking of the band, I mean, why not? But maybe this is for me a little bit more of an album band. Anyway, now at least I have experienced it, so can't really bitch about it. Behemoth was, of course, the main act on the bigger stage at Werftet, and well, Behemoth is much like Venom. Nowadays, that is. You know it's gonna be big, you know, it's gonna be full of hit songs, you know, it's gonna be like everybody up, kind of a big thing. The kind of a, you know, what you're getting from these bigger bands, you know, the Dimmu Borgers and the Cradle Fills and Behemoths, of course, and the Satyricons and whatnot. So, once again, you probably already know if you're gonna like it or not. Now I'm not a fan of the latest Behemoth materials, and while I have always enjoyed more or less Behemoth shows, this time I was more like, I'm gonna just see a little bit. Yeah, it's Behemoth once again. Not big impact on me, but the stage was big thing, and if you have never seen Behemoth, well, it's pretty sure you should. I mean, unless you hate the band, of course. Then Death says that cult heavy metal band from Italy was pretty interesting because they had a wild show on stage with some say special features, and the old school occult horror heavy metal is, if not exactly unique, very versatile depending on different albums you have. They have some more industrial parts, they have more classic heavy metal parts, and they definitely have those horror parts. It was cool to see this old span, I mean they're from the 70s live, so it was wild, even if not musically 100% exactly me. And then it was the night shift time at Kulturhuset, where Atlas played their nightmarish black metal set. again, second time for me, and they sound fantastic once again. Actually very fitting for Kulturhuset rather than the big stage because of the nature of the music. Very nightmarish, very dark ambient tinted black metal, so really, really good stuff. Old Tower was then again more like a dungeon synth with corpse paints. Felt a little bit weird, not bad, but just like maybe for me it's like beer clock and all. But give it a go if you are in the city when it happens. Now this was basically the Friday, that is, the only day we decided to go for early on for the day shift thing, because we were listening after the breakfast at our apartment with me and camera people to this fur band from Netherlands, and it sounded good, rawish black metal the 1990s way, and the gig was exactly that, giving us the punch we were hoping for. So one of the better surprises for me, because the expectations were right there and the band delivered. So yeah, good choice, good find and all. Sin was pretty much what I heard on the album. The potential is right there, but not for us, and by Old Swoods Graves, unfortunately, we were already out. But we were back for the main stage appearance with Dödheimsgard, and that was very, very interesting, almost like an artsy show, which was like, hey, this is cool. So Vikotning and the rest of the guys really delivered some interesting show with Dödheimsgard. And if you know their career, which I've already gone through in one of my videos, it's a roller coaster ride. There are the black metal parts, the kind of a trashier parts, the very industrial parts, the later era, say third wave of black metal parts. So it's a very, very unique thing in overall. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Dievel, however, I decided to skip because it was so boring last year, the Inferno. It was almost like out of passion, out of fire, out of gas, whatever you have. I guess some people said it was good, but, you know, can't bitch about their music. But for me, I kind of have to have a breather every now and then, and this was exactly that for the reasons mentioned. One of my highlight points for the whole festival was, however, Enslaved playing Full Frost, the second album by Enslaved, and I knew it's gonna be very, very great, because when the Enslaved played Eld last year, I was there for the full fucking show, enjoying every bit of it. And the same thing with Frost. The Grieghallen sound combined with, you know, great music. That's just pure win. And finally, Satyricon was doing Horns and Diadems Part 1 show, meaning they were the headliner of the evening. But unfortunately, the focus was too much scattered around. There was like not like old school set, like, you know, we had Enslaved or certain other bands, but it was just like a new and old songs, all mixed bag of goodies and all that stuff. So for me, it was one of those basic Satyricon shows I've seen before. Can't really bitch about it, but didn't really make me go wild and happy, because I'm a big fan of early Satyricon albums, and the past 10 plus years not really been like a wow moment. But you have to see Satyricon every now and then to understand it, much like Behemoth and the like. And then we had Or Noir at Kulturhuset, and that was so powerful. But then again, Or Noir is exactly that, like always. Seen them before, I know what to expect, wasn't disappointed. Except that the whole place was pretty full, so we were quite far in the back, couldn't really see much, but the music is right there. And then the last year, why, this is what I was told BDG Young is for newer bands, younger people and all. Probably interesting, but we were working, so unfortunately couldn't give that a go. Then there was Vemod opening up with their Hypnotic Black Metal and Braid doing their special, so with 30 years of Sogna Metal or something. We were quite late here, and unfortunately things were overlapping once again. And Satyricon Part 2 was more or less pretty much similar thing than the first day. Now, what I was told, there are no songs overlapping, so it's just two fresh sets. But from a fan point of view, it seems like both backs were mixed goodies, which was a disappointment, because you could really imagine with this kind of a special set that one album would be like I said, one full album thing, and the other one would be more like a mixed bag of goodies. But they both seemed like a mixed bag of goodies, like focusing on the later era more than the early parts, which at least this is how it sounded to me. So I don't know, like I said, it felt like you're just going through the same thing all over again. This is what I read anyway online. A lot of people were really disappointed in Satyricon, because it was just two basic festival sets after one another instead of something special, which is very much a thing Beyond the Gates. One of the reasons why people, I think, go to Beyond the Gates is like, you have like last year it was D-Side playing Legion, Enslaved playing Eld, this year Enslaved playing Frost, or Braid doing their years of Sakna Metal stuff, which is like the Carrier and some Vindir stuff and whatever. I don't know, Satyricon probably figured out they would do it differently because it's after all Satyricon, for the better or worse, and that is gonna leave some people cold, like, what is this? But I'm not here to judge. If you like it, great, at least. For example, at Satyricon show, second day, I was taking some photo there at the Grieghallen, and it was full packed. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe some other people are wrong, and maybe it was just a good show. But to each your own, that's the beauty of it. And one of the best things ever happened was this Bloodfire Death, a tribute to Quarton and the music of Bathory. Now, I was told this is basically 20th anniversary to the whole concept, which was first time done in 20 years ago when Quarton, rest in pieces, unfortunately passed too early. And, this was a really, really special show. Not only they focus on the early material of Bathory, with a little bit of Viking material included, but the all-star lineup. You had like Ivar from Enslaved doing guitars. You had Oranoir's Apollon doing the bass. You had Blasphemer from Oranoir Ultima's Mayhem doing other guitars. You had Faust from ex-Emperor, nowadays Djevel, doing drums. That kind of stuff. For the vocalists, you have Erik from Vatain. You have Satyr of Satyricon. You have Gal from ex-Gorkroth, Karlsvur, Dreldom, whatever. You have Björn from One Tail, One Head, Darvaza, Behexen, whatever. You had Grudle from Enslaved, one of the vocals. Massive all-star lineup. I'm not going to even list everybody here. There was a couple of missing guest vocalists because sickness and overbooking, but I mean, it was still really, really fantastic overall. And each vocalist, of course, performed in a little bit different way. Some are more moshing, some are more steady, some are more screamy, some are more raspy. Wow, the work these guys did, it was like a perfect tribute to Bathory. Even old Bathory bass player was, by the way, playing a couple of tunes there, and that was just like more honey to the pot. And I'm just saying this is was the best thing ever to happen for Beyond the Gates for me. So this and Enslaved playing Frost were the wow, mind-blowing things, really kind of stuff. So what can I say? Even though it seems like I saw like 2/3 of the bands or whatever, it was really, really great stuff all the way through. I love the vibe in Bergen. It was really, really good to meet a lot of cool guys, see good stuff, and what can I say? Feels like I will be back there next year as well, but who knows? It depends on the bands, it depends on the schedule, blah, blah, blah. In terms of interviews, couple of disappointments were happening because some cancellations or booking sickness, whatever happened, like with Hordom, Rife, and Dreldom. We couldn't do it even though they were agreed. I know I told you that, and it's too bad we couldn't deliver. However, we did one with Satyricon, Death SS, Bloodhem, as one of the replacement stuff. We did one with Satyricon. What I'm thinking, we did one with the Vemod. What are the other ones? How come? This is always when I'm thinking of like remembering what I'm saying here. Tried to get, by the way, Dark Space, but they said no. What I'm thinking? Well, 7 interviews anyway. It's all in my list and it's all happening, but sometimes my mind is going through much weird tracks and laps and all that stuff. So yeah, Jannike from the tattoo artist, cover art artist, original artist for early Immortal Enslaved or whatever logo, was also interviews. Now I'm thinking there was one more. I'm not thinking, probably figuring out right after I'm done with the video. Anyhow, so for coming weeks you should be getting these interviews out, and I'm really happy with all the stuff we did. Every person I got to question and interview, really nice, and fantastic stories, interesting details, amazing anecdotes and all that stuff. So what can I say? I hope you like them, and if you don't, well, too bad. But this is my take on the Beyond the Gates. And finally, I guess the best part in the end of this whole video is the walk around through Grieghallen place. So I hope we get to deliver you something from that place, and you get to feel a little bit of that majestic, legendary concert hall. So thanks for watching, I guess, and maybe see you next year at Beyond the Gates. Take care.
Welcome to Beyond the Gates 2024. Now we're at the famous, legendary Grieghallen. We're going to give you a little bit of a guided through what to expect from Beyond the Gates. Follow me. Sometimes you need to get the tickets beforehand, but sometimes you just have the wrists for the whole event. Now let's do the full red carpet thing, and follow me if you dare into the very, very legendary place of gigs and studio. And as everybody who is very well versed in the Norwegian black metal already knows, Grieghallen is the home of many bands like, you know, Enslaved, Aeternus, Burzum, or whatever. So security doing their job as they should, and of course there are always booths. As you can see, cult black metal as it comes. Interesting, good people selling the stuff. More stuff to be sold here. So we're gonna show you how it is. First, let's take a look at the ground floor. Albums, merchandise, beer probably. Some labels doing their work, and random people should be shopping some items here. Art, not just band shirts and all. So this is what you get on the ground floor. I know, of course, you're expecting to see what the band is playing, but before we go that far, we'll go upstairs. Because, of course, places like Grieghallen, events like Beyond the Gates, is beyond just playing shows. We have different events here, and you will see what happens upstairs. And as much as I know anything about last year, well, might be not true for this year. So it's as much as a virgin trip for me and you alike. Thirsty people are being served here with drinks. And then we head to the back of the second floor. Those who are not in favor of alcoholic beverages, taste their quench like this. Hello, sir. Here's a good-looking example of what we have here at Beyond the Gates. Tattoos and more tattoos. So we also have good-looking Norwegian craftsmanship. So take a look, people, what do you see when you come to Beyond the Gates? What's I talking about? Tattoos. Tattoos, art, craftsmanship, skulls, more tattoos. So in case you want to get something nice done, we have plenty of superbly highly skilled people doing their art. Some are happening right here while we talk, while we are going for art. Some ladies are here already expecting the customers with their open wallets to do their business. And that's what we are showing. So whenever you feel like there is no band that you want to check out, maybe you want to get some new ink on your skin. And as such, we take turn. Here's famous Carlos Aguilera, the Black Shadow Tattoos, doing his work. This guy is one of the best in his craft. But this is not to just highlight one of the guys. This all all these people are really good in their craft, and that's why they're here, to do their art and fill their skin, fill their pieces of flesh with interesting stuff. So some masterful skill in the making. That's why people come here to get their skin inked and to see some bands. Now, we've been talking so much about bands and all that stuff, and of course Grieghallen is mostly known for the stuff. So let's go back downstairs to see what's really taking place. So follow me once again. So if upstairs was all about tattoos and the lobby was all about merchandise, let's head into the Dragon's Lair. And in case you want to know what I'm talking about, timeline, the schedule. And those who are not in for favor of seeing bands live might head for the beer garden, because why the hell not? I mean, metalheads tend to be thirsty, so if they're not going for ink, if they're not going for gigs, why the hell not have beers? But now let's go why we are here, for the music. Some random Satyricon art here because they're playing 2 days special set. Like last year, it was a Dimmu Borgir show. You could see a lot of those photos and all that shit. So kind of like getting into the stuff. And this is what I find very confusing in this place, because this is highly crafted musical building. You cannot hear jack shit until you really go in. And as we follow these good metal people here, this is where the magic happens. Let's go in.